All the good stuff.
That's right. All the good stuff always happens before we get started, Alan, and we're going to get started again. But how did we all meet again? And wait, who are we?
Do we want to go that far back?
I don't know.
Yeah.
We've been talking about it. Yes. I said, oh, I've known Alan for 10 years. And he went, he corrected me right in front of me. He goes, you've known me longer. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, Alan. You're right. It's been 13 years.
Feels like 20.
And it will feel like 20 more after this episode's over.
Oh my God.
Because I am thrilled to have the boss lady, the Entreprenista,
Barbara Heil-Sonneck.
There she is. She comes
Wow.
rocking in. And Barbara, how long have I known you? We were just
I
talking about
think
that.
it is 13 years too. Was something about the house, right? There was the house there was, and I can't think about the total house, but it was the house and all of the contractors and meeting together. And yes, that's how we got connected.
That's right.
And if anybody wonders where this amazing and beautiful Southern accent comes from.
I have a guess. Kentucky. Somewhere
Close.
near Frankfurt.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Frankfurt is good. Frankfurt is good.
All right, everybody, guess the accent before we get started. Frankfurt, is that where you're going with?
Frankfurt, Kentucky.
Kentucky.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're a little off. I wouldn't even hazard a guess with my
Jersey?
inability to understand geography.
Well, it comes down. Frankfurt, that's where I fly in. And then it's like 1.5 hours east. Würzburg, beautiful wine country and area, Würzburg. That's it.
What kind of wine?
Rankenwein. That's the Sylvaners.
Wow.
Scheurebe.
Chris is a wine. It's not your wine. It's not
I'll drink it. I don't even know how to say that again. It just sounded cool just listening to it.
You are so smitten by her accent.
I love the accent. Are you kidding me? I told you.
That's what she's saying.
I really-
She could read the dictionary and she'd be like, oh, that's
Oh my
awesome.
God. And over the years, I say it all the time. She's the boss lady, the Entreprenista. She's got home staging all wrapped around her little finger. Or okay, maybe me.
Yeah, you represent.
All right, everybody, let's kick this sucker off. Let's go Small Business Safari and let's go drop some nuggets, learn some information, see what we got going on. But before we get started, we got to say
Cheers.
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 And cheers to Barbara Heil-Sonneck. So, Barbara, before we get into this, you can do it better than me. Who are you? Where'd you come from? And then let's start jumping into some great questions.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me today. My name is Barbara Heil-Sonneck, and I am the Entreprenista, the boss lady, and I am an expert in ROI home staging. Why I say ROI, it's all about the return of investment.
Love it. Before you got into this business, though, did you jump right into home staging or what did you do before this?
I was corporate. I was a corporate lady, but I did different elements. So I have been in marketing, I have been in sales, and then corporate brought me over to the US, building up, organizations, speaking to the different project teams all over the world, traveling quite a bit. And at a certain point, I met my Mr. Right. And after Mr. Right came the love of my life, my son, which he is now going off to college.
And you thought it was you, Chris.
I was waiting. I'm like,
after she got married,
I was
he's outed on a podcast.
You can't see this on the podcast, but I was like, yes. Oh, you're right. That's right. Your husband.
And their
That's
child.
right. And then the kid gets in the way.
I know.
Darn it.
Yes.
But I got away with the two of them
Yes.
for meddling kids. No.
So, loved it, took some time off, went back into corporate, said, okay, that's not it anymore, and got my fingers into real estate, rehabbing houses, actually. So there's another connection and, did a lot of the remodeling and flipping. And then staging it, that means we furnish it and we furnish it for the highest ROI. And that's how the other company got started and grew now to a team of 15 people. And we are like now 6 years in a row being voted by our peers to be the top 10 staging company USA. So here we go.
Top 10 staging company in the USA. But in terms of size, how big are you compared to other home stagers? And we're going to talk about that whole business in a minute.
Yeah, so I think we are a pretty large team in how we are running. So I think we are one of the larger companies in Atlanta. Also, we have focused in the last couple of years more on the luxury side of real estate.
We're definitely going to get into that. So Alan asked me what you did. I said she has the top 5 staging company in the nation. So I'm going to go with that.
Which it's the US and we're the biggest and best. So I'm going to say the world.
So let's go world. You are top 5 in the world.
Our international listeners.
Well, we love the international. I actually was just speaking at a conference in Lisbon, Portugal about home staging.
Yeah, my
So
wife's
yes, here we
flying in
go.
there at the end of the month without me.
Without you.
That's
Good choice on her part. Showing again the intellect of the female.
I'm the love of her life too.
What?
Yeah.
Behind me, buddy. You know that. All right. So as you got into that, you started flipping houses. You said you took some time off. So it wasn't like you had to provide for your family. You didn't feel that I've got to do this or I can't put food on the table. I didn't have that kind of pressure. So how did you morph into this and say, you know what? I'm hungry enough. I want to start building this. Because a lot of times we do it from I need to, I have to.
No, that was after all of the corporate, thinking about the job and creating projects, but it's a lot of paperwork. You never can really touch the result. I thought that I want to have something where I can work with it. And that's pretty much how it started. I always knew that I was creative. I was painting. I had a good understanding of color. And the one thing I didn't know is that I'm born as part of the 10% of the population, which there's a 90-10 rule. Not sure if you have heard about it, but what it means is 90% of the population, they can't visualize. They can't things build them up three-dimensional. What they see is what they get. So they have a hard time visualizing how a space could look like.
I see that in real estate all the time. I mean, we'll have an absolutely perfect building for somebody, but they're like, no, I needed this many offices. And I'm like, but you have this open space here that you can put them in. And they can't visualize it.
Really?
I did not know the 90-10 rule. It drives me nuts.
Yeah, it is.
Well, it must drive you nuts 90% of the time.
Yeah, 90% of the
Look
time.
at me,
Yeah.
I do math.
Yeah. So in that part, if you think about it, really, yeah, absolutely. But so when we're talking about ROI, it's really what is the target audience, and how many of the people can really understand the space and can see all of the value a space can provide.
So do you always use your furniture and accessories, or do you ever use the clients?
We mainly, our company focus mainly on the vacant, but we also do fill in and we do consultation where we give people pretty much like a list of tasks they can perform by themselves in enhancing space and value.
So this is also creating a secondary business, I'm guessing, because in order to have something staged properly, it has to be current. So in a couple of years, all the furniture and accessories you have may no longer be current. You have to dispose of them and get new.
We're not really disposing. What we're really trying to do is to sell it out of projects. And so people have the opportunity to purchase, so the buyer can consider to purchase the inventory. And we have done quite some of these.
If you haven't figured out, she's actually pretty sharp at business.
I'm trying to trip her up.
I know you're trying hard, and she keeps coming back and giving you another revenue stream and yet another revenue stream. We haven't even gotten to all of them yet.
She said I could mess with her though.
Right.
But then I found out I can't call her anything but Barbara.
Well,
I was going to throw Babs in there, and I got a no.
That's a big no.
And
yeah, big no.
You got a German nine. I heard it.
It might come out of this mouse, right?
I like it. All right, let's go back to I'm going to take you all the way back. So you're flipping houses and you started saying, I got a chance to do the staging thing. Did you build a business plan with an idea to be where you are today, or has it just kind of happened?
Well, it happened in the beginning. It happened to a certain point. I knew when I had to make the decision to either continue working with contractors or hire, I knew exactly now it is really time to reassess everything and come up with a strategy and a plan to do it. One of the challenges at the time when I started was you hadn't had a lot of role models out there. So it was still a new developing industry. So there was not a lot of people you could go to and ask, okay, what can you do, or courses or education, how to really set up a staging company. There was a lot of single entrepreneurs or single business owners who did what they loved doing, but there was not really an established concept. So that's what we and other big companies throughout the US were starting to build over the years and have built over the years.
So I'm a little disappointed that as a German national, you've not opened your beer.
Oh, yes, I have to do that. And, as I promised, it has to be this big shh. Hopefully it does it. Hopefully it does it. And it's not going.
Let's do it.
1,
2,
2, 3, go. Oh no, that was not a
no,
big
that's
one. It was a small one.
All right, but she opened her beer.
She
So
But
now
cheers.
we're gonna start getting the
Cheers.
gold nuggets. Cheer again. Now we're up 2-1.
They don't say cheers in Germany.
They say Prost.
Prost.
Prost. Zum Wohl. Prost.
Look at you showing your worldly side.
Come on.
Now you're sucking up. All right, buddy, get out of the way. I'm back in.
It's all about Chris.
That's right. Let's get back to this. So you started getting into the staging business. And you started staging a home here or there. In your plan, did you obviously you had a marketing background? You had a marketing plan for this, or did it just happen word of mouth and kept going and building? And then you said, boy, I got something going on here.
That's pretty much what really happened. Started, to tap into my investor network. That's how I started. So first we started to really work with a lot of the flippers and investors over time and build that relationship. And then we grow. And then it also, you have a team of designers and they are growing with the work they're doing. And then they want to have a challenge as well. So we bought different type of furniture. Also in the beginning, you don't know what you don't know. And there's a couple of mistakes on the way for sure. So I'm throwing you some, so you can throw it back at me as well, please.
What kind of mistakes did you make? Huh?
Good job, Ellen.
Yes, purchasing too much variation of furniture. If you think about it, you have to establish a brand. Think about, if there's a West Elm or Renovation Hardware, right? It's a brand, but a lot of the inventory has to be interchangeable. So it can be still in variations a different direction, but somehow you have to be able to mix them. So if you think about it, we are not only designing one house, we are designing 100 houses, which is roughly, that is the volume we are carrying. And, could be more or less depending on how many rooms are furnished. So you have to really think how all of the inventory can work with each other, or at least to a 90% target.
So logistics must be a huge part of your job.
70% of the business is logistics and process.
You got a lot of percentages.
I love it. Well, very German, right? Precision. I was waiting for 71.2%. So you actually just hit on something that I don't know if you meant to say this, but what I just heard is you get your interior designers, you hire them, you tell them, okay, sky's the limit. Oh, wait, no, sky's no longer the limit. You have to now design within these boundaries. What did you find that being constraining, or do they find that as to be a creative
I
challenge?
think this is definitely also a challenge in the area, because it's this combination of creating an amazing result in a budget, and this other part is in a timely manner. And not everybody who understands and loves design is meant for that type of industry, because you have to make decisions on the spot. You cannot overthink it. And an installation of a 5 or 6 bedroom room might not take longer than hopefully 4 to 5 hours. And then the job has to be done. And of course, there's a lot of planning ahead of time, but the installation has to go smooth because there's a timeline. Because in staging, you are paid a fixed amount. So you have to plan ahead of time, because, you cannot add the hours afterwards, if that makes sense.
Right.
So the creative, they had to learn to design within a limit. And then what you're talking about is once they've designed it, you have to procure it. Then you have to stage it yourself somewhere, because this is just in time. And then you get access to the house for 4 or 5 hours and then stage it. Talk a little bit about where that challenge really started to hit you, because I could see that where that would be a constraint or a big bottleneck for you.
Well, part is, often it is, logistic. If that is, trucks not getting out on time and stuck in traffic, can be little things like that, all of the nuances. So it's like a constant battle. It's a house which is not ready and they call 2 days ahead, and you have a full day of people lined up for that specific project and have to have a backup plan for what they can do, which is still efficient. So it's a lot of, I can tell you there is no week which everything goes to plan. There's no week. There's always changes and challenges.
I think that's one of the biggest things I was waiting for Barbara to come in here and talk about, because when you think about home stagers, you're thinking interior design. Does that leopard print go with my Falcons
No.
flag? And does my red
No.
accent? No, it's not. Yes, it does, Alan. I love all of my prints here in my room. in the podcast room. But it's not just designing, being out there just going, hey, I get to be Miss Creative, I get to be Mr. Creative. I have got to now hold myself to a plan, logistically put this thing in together. And I don't think people kind of got that part. And when I talked to her about her business and as she scaled it, that was a huge part of what she had to overcome. So as you did it, was it people, process, technology, or was it technology, process, and hope to God I find people?
Well, it starts with the people in that environment. You have to have, you have to have the people who can really and strive in that environment, enjoy it, and have a love for it. And then, of course, it is all in design. You're managing expectation. And part is when I talk about modern, the picture on modern sofa, a white modern sofa, the picture you have in your mind and the picture Ellen has in mind, and the picture I have in my mind might be completely different.
Mine's awesome.
So,
I think
it's
mine's better.
different. If I order a red, plastic cup and, this size and that, then, everybody, it's pretty easy. But if you are starting about design and concepts, that can be completely different. The part is that the client really has to trust you to do the implementation. We cannot have them pick singular inventory because the process is different. If we're talking about that too, you want to have at least 80% of your product out and not in the warehouse.
So I have a question. I think I know the answer, but I want to know what Barbara thinks. You are in a very competitive space.
Yes.
And now you're the 5th largest in the world, let's say.
World.
Yeah. Universe.
World domination. Boss lady, you heard it here first.
What is it that you do differently that allowed you to just rocket to this level of success?
I think number one is it's people. People, process, and optimization. People, process, and optimization. And, there are struggles. Don't get me wrong, on the way, to success, it goes smooth. And then at a certain part, when you're scaling, productivity goes down until you can go up. You can go up again. It's constant. It's a certain proven concept, I think, in every business. But in our business, it also has the constraints of inventory, and the scalability is dependent on cash flow too.
Yeah, she hit on.
I can get 7 contracts in 4 full houses, which and they all want to have it, now, and I might not have the inventory for it, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to think about the in and out and the capacity in the warehouse as well, and what makes sense and, and not. So the scaling is not happening. If you have a software development, right, you hit it, you have the investment, it's run, and then you scale.
Yeah, she hit on one word that I'll never use with my businesses. As I've run up my mountaintop of success, I hit some smooth patches. My smooth patches are like 80 grit sandpaper. Usually I'm rubbing my face against a cheese grater as I'm trying to go up. But you said as you continue to scale, and what you can't see on the podcast is you put your hand up like you're going up in the air, and then you put your hand down like you're going down on the ground, and then sometimes you actually get to go horizontal.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that feels really crappy until you can embrace the suck and start to figure out your way to go back up. So as you scaled and you had talked about this inventory and bringing the people in, did you ever get to a spot where you just said, screw this, I'm going back to flipping houses, I'm out, I'm done?
Well, I believe that every business owner at a certain point, goes and has these points. There's point of disappointment. It's part of that element. However, the difference is, you have to shake it off, and then you have to get up.
She shook her
Yeah,
shoulders.
I shook the shoulders.
She just did the shimmy, shimmy, shake.
Yes.
I'm gonna shimmy, shimmy, shake with her, baby. I know it. You're right. You have to shake your shoulder. You got to shake it off. I love it.
Well, because that's life too, right? That's the level. You have to really manage the challenges. So I mentioned that we started on the investor side. Then you have also more competition coming in. Then you're starting to think, okay, where is the next niche? The next element is really niching. So I think, what we have discovered over the years is really niching. So there are certain clients, they're excellent for us, and others not. So what's the ideal client? For us, it is really the process-driven agent who is focusing to working with a power team. And it's repetitive. We are part of the power team, and we are plugged in a conceptual way. So you have planning, right? So you know what's the sales volume you're planning to hit in the year, and and you have a certain outlook of percentage of what you're doing. We have agents we're working with. They would not even take on listings unless we are part of the team, and certain things have been done
So
to
I
make
am
it happen.
guessing my answer to the question that I just asked Bob is that you are extremely reliable. They know 100% that they can count on you. And that, I think, is because you're a corporate person, you're a business person, maybe even a German business person first, who happens to be creative, as opposed to a lot of your competition, I think, is probably really creative and they don't have that business. So they can talk a big game, they can paint a great picture, but when it comes to executing and delivering, and in this market where costs are going crazy and everybody's short staff, they know that they can count on Barbara to deliver. That's what I'm guessing. Is
Absolutely. And that's it. And things can go wrong.
Sure.
Example, last week we had a new installation of a brand new property around, in the city from a builder we have worked with since years. Like, it's a multi-million-dollar property. They had major delays and the driveway was not poured.
Oh,
So
boy.
if you think about,
She's in a
7 or
helicopter.
8 houses, driveway were not poured. And normally we had 2 teams coming out and they could not really work for 2 hours. And they had a D stage scheduled, means like taking inventory out because there was a closing the next day. And there was no way, and the trucks were loaded. I couldn't, you have to work with the situation. So last minute call, trying to find somebody to come in for the D stage the next morning. Everything still worked out smooth, but we all work together and make it happen, right? That's the key part, because the closing is the key part. We work together. Things can happen, and I had to make an executive decision. What do you do? I cannot send the full trucks back home, or that didn't make sense. So we had to figure out a solution. So together as a team came up with a solution, but it was a major delay and a huge hiccup in the schedule.
So here would have been my solution on that one. Number one, I'm going to now add to my checklist. Does builder have driveway poured or installed before customer moves into house? Dumbass. Number two, if it's not there and I have my furniture, I'm backing my truck up and I am going to yeehaw it. I'm going to take it over like Dukes of Hazzard. I'm going to hop that curb and I'm going right up its flipping driveway. Yeehaw! Coming in. There we go. Knocking it out. And I'm going to shove that furniture in, and then I'm coming out, and I'm coming out hot.
Here's number 3.
Yep. And then I pop a beer and say, that's
Yeah.
good. But that's probably a reason I'm not in the home staging. Because they probably wouldn't have liked what I did to this driveway.
So you do public speaking too.
Yes, I speak at conferences and I truly enjoy that.
How did that come about?
Well, parties, we're working and we're masterminding with other colleagues throughout the US, trying to improve what we're doing, also share, and also make it easier for people who are coming new into the business to really cut down on time. So if
you're
you
not
think,
going to share all your secrets.
well, you share process. You share a lot, because at the end, what I learned is you can share as much as you are willing to share. There's not really secrets overall, because what other people are hearing and what they are implementing might be only a portion of it.
I'd say she could share absolutely everything, including her books, and I still don't think these guys would be able to.
Well, you do the same thing.
I do.
You'll open your books to
I
a
have.
competitor.
Yeah. So Alan brought up that I've done this before. I've had a smaller handyman say, "Chris, can I come talk to you?" I said, "Yeah, man, come on." And he came up and he started asking questions, and he's asking these veiled questions. And I said, "Do you just want to see my books?" Yeah. I said, "All right, man." And I flipped my screen around. I'm like, "Here you go." He goes, "Why are you doing that?" I said, "Because what we do is really flipping hard, bro." And
You didn't say flipping.
I didn't.
No.
I dropped it big time.
Yeah.
Because it's hard business. And yeah, I'll show it to you, and it's not sexy business. It's for us. And if you're not catching on what Barbara's laying down,
It's kind of sexy.
well, Barbara's voice is.
Well, some of the stuff you do too.
Actually, some of the stuff I've done.
Yeah, there's some beautiful work,
Yeah,
your team is
no,
putting
it's
out
awesome.
too.
Yeah, my artists do
Yes.
great jobs. But in our business, though, as you do it, it's a low net business. This is not a, oh, whoops, can't install today. Well, no big deal, right? I'm going to make 50,000 on this. No, I didn't make 50,000 on that install. No, yeah. So it's still a low net business, and that's the hard part. Was that as you scale a business in home services, especially, which is where you're at, it's not one of those things. I've heard, again, if you want to hear somebody's lying, that remodeler comes and tells you, oh man, I'm doing 40%. I'm making 40%.
Mm-mm.
I'm like, I don't think so. There, Tex. Ain't happening because there's no way you get it. And we're going to get to where Barbara has gone in her business as well with her niche. It's still hard because it's a low net you've just got a high volume, low net business, and you've got to be able to know your processes, your numbers, and where you're going.
Absolutely. And that's, I think, the main part from scaling. I think a lot of people in the creative field, they are very creative and they're amazing in what they're doing. But when you're not knowing your number, you can run yourself to the ground easily, because it's not the cash coming in. It is really the net profit at the end.
You can't take margin to the bank.
Mhm.
They don't lend on that, do they?
No, they don't. Let me
go ahead.
I got a question.
Go.
Okay, so you're a very planful person, if that's a word. There's a lot of rumbles about an economic downturn. We're already seeing the housing market slow down a little bit. How do you plan and prepare for that? How does that affect your business?
We went to 2006, 7, 8. So we already
That was
had,
fun, wasn't it?
yeah, kind of like, it's,
I used to have hair before.
But I don't think it will be the same. There's definitely certain elements of shifting, because I think we have the highest, cash and wealth transfer in the history. So there's a lot of cash out there, because, you see that too. There are so many properties that are really picked up, for cash. Things might slow down a little bit in certain niches and areas, but we know there's not enough housing out there for people. So what we are actually seeing when things are slowing down, there is a higher need for us, because now to move more of the properties, they have to really look good.
Ooh.
So think about it, right? So yeah.
So I just got done telling this to my team this morning. We are in a recession. Oh, that's bad, Chris. No, the government says we're not. No. Actually, technically, it's a guy who used to be in banking. We're technically in a recession. Now, it's different. It's not as big. And I welcome the recession. So the answer to if you know that's the information of a recession, what Barbara just said is, I'm going to capture more market share. I'm going to get more of what I'm doing. I'm going to get more business. And I'm going to drive out those people who don't know their numbers. Key right there. I just gave myself an own gold nugget. Thank you. Way to go, Chris. Thank you,
Yes.
Chris.
Yeah, don't throw out your shoulder, pat
Absolutely.
yourself on the
You
back.
have to always look. As an entrepreneur, you always have to look for new possibilities and new services you can add to your portfolio. I think that is the main part. You cannot stand still, and you have to differentiate, right? Could be little things. It could be, everybody's only, in real estate. So what are the added services you can provide? And like with everything, there's the 80-20 rule. And that is in every business.
So we got a lot of percentages to remember. Are you writing this down, Chris?
I've got 90,
90-10,
80.
then there was the 80, now there's the 80-20.
Well, there's also a 6-second rule, right? 6-second rule.
What's the 6
I
second
love
rule?
that too. Well, take 6 seconds until you make a decision if you like or dislike somebody else. So the same is with, if you're looking at space, the same part, right?
I thought that was whether or not you pick up the hamburger off the floor and eat it or not. Damn it. I had a different 6 seconds. Still eat it even after 60.
Well, now it even goes down, right? It even goes down to 4.5 because our attention span gets less and less. And online, what is it? The swipe with the finger? How can you describe it? Swipe with the finger. It's like, next to the next,
What
right?
was she talking about? Okay.
Online pictures.
Your attention span would be lucky to get to 4.5.
Goldfish have it on me. I could barely hold on to that.
Dory.
What?
Yeah.
What? Bluefish. Here we go. I was listening. All right.
To what?
I don't know yet. All right, let's get back to this. Barbara, we all wish we could start a business, know the exact niche, go hit it, know our margins, know our numbers, boom, 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 never make a mistake in our life. But as we both know, and Alan does as well, is that it takes a long time to figure it out because you're out there, you're trying things. You're always continually trying. And like you said the word smooth, which is, again, never a word I would ever use in my business.
It sounds better when she says it.
Could you say it again for us?
Smooth.
Oh, yeah.
You interrupted her. It's the end of it that's the best. Say it again.
Smooth.
You just want that on tape. I'm gonna make that your ringtone, Alan, if you keep that up. All right. So one of the things I know you've done in the last year, maybe two, let's talk a little bit more about how you've been able to niche down your service to then provide that added value, and talk about, you went out of this home staging market. And again, I think most people understand it. It's hey, I want to get my house for sale. Realtor comes in and says, your furniture looks like crap. You got to put some better stuff in here because it won't show well because most people can't see it. And we're going to sell your $250,000 X, your $300,000 X, whatever that house value is. We're here in the metro Atlanta area, but you decided to go upscale and go more into the luxury market, which there's a lot less inventory, a lot less opportunity up there. Talk about how you were able to make that move and get to that and what that's done for you.
Well, and again, think about inventory. It's not a decision, it's a decision you can make from today to tomorrow, but it's not a decision you can implement from today to tomorrow because all is depending on the inventory. So it is over time, we talked about it, that, trends are changing. You have to always stay on top and then you purchase every year. We're running roughly on $2 million of inventory, retail value, if you think about that.
I'm thinking about that. I got to pause for a minute. It took my breath away. You heard that, right?
I did, and I was actually just trying to think of what percentage of that inventory is deployed at any given time.
So 80% of the inventory is
80
out.
is the number. I think that's going to be your title.
80%
podcast
wins the day. So yeah, but you have to have 80% out there because that's what's turning the money and being able to allow
Well, the
you
part
to.
is exactly because it's not the warehouse or the size of the warehouse which really matters. It is, the size of it's the project, right? It's the project.
Sorry.
All right,
if
Barbara,
inventory
you
is
just told two men. It's not it's not the size of the warehouse that matters. It's
Yes,
what-
it is.
Understand,
Yes,
yeah.
it is.
Well, it's what you do with it, Mel.
Yeah, that's
what you
right.
do with it. So you don't use the inventory you have. And here we go. All right.
So,
So
all right.
we-
So can I ask what size is your I'm actually curious.
Well, I'm not sure if we can go back to business after that, right?
Hence the beer.
Cheers.
Yeah,
Yes, I think we
cheers.
all need
Prost.
Woo,
both,
that's only two
some
beers
more.
in. All right. So Barbara, you have scaled. How
But you
big is
can
your
see,
warehouse?
I'm crying here, right? So I'm crying. So
why-
here's the part.
Why can't you push it to 90%? Let me ask you that.
Well, you do now and then,
Okay.
but it's like you have to have a base and then it's fluctuating in between.
You need to be able to say yes at any given time. And that's where that point, right?
Well, you don't have to say yes at any given time. That's not the part. It has to be strategic, right? So it is like it's coming about the amount of calls, the relationship, the projection of projects. And of course, there's only so much you can plan for. Another example, and dealing with it too, you never know when the house sells.
Right.
So you don't always know. I think one of the biggest challenges in our business model is that you cannot project when product comes back.
Yeah, you don't know when it's going to sell, and you don't know if they're going to actually purchase the inventory that's in it. So you've
Yes.
got a big
So your
big
management
crystal
is
ball.
so the management, it's so closely to the real estate market. So you have to stay on, is it now, what is happening out there? What is selling overall, right? It's the market data and trend gives you your outlook. And based on what overall happens in the market, you have to project in or out what is happening. There might be a push to sell more inventory, or there might be a slowdown in offering to sell inventory to balance the flow, because it doesn't help you to get too much inventory back at a certain point, because then nobody can work in the warehouse anymore. So again, a lot of planning, a lot of little elements. And I think that is one of the biggest challenges in this business model and on the planning side. And that's why you have more smaller businesses with, where you don't have to do all of that planning. It's more that small, most probably like 5 houses or 6 or 10, and you don't care. You have everything under contractor base.
So if you get a little low on inventory, you can just suddenly say that this isn't for sale on the houses that you.
Well, we
currently-
choose pretty much based on what projections are. As I said, there's a lot of, planning going in, and, there's only so much you can plan, but you have experience,
plan so much.
yeah,
You have to plan a lot. If you haven't picked that up, it's so not about design and picking out colors. And that's obviously where your passion is and fun, but to be successful and to grow like you've grown, you've had to stay disciplined, know your numbers, and I got to know the market. I got to know when things are going to sell. I got to know when those items come back to my warehouse, I can deploy them. I got to know if they're still in style. Which brings me to a question. I've done a little home staging myself, and I have this green shag carpet from the 70s. I keep moving from house to house to house. Is that still in style?
You joke about this. So I went through a house that was for sale, and one of the rooms had that fake strand of ivy wrapped all the way around the room, and in the corner was a human skeleton.
No way.
Yes. And and you always hear from realtors, oh, you have to declutter. And I was just thinking, what was going through that homeowner's mind? He's like, you know what? I'm going to put that skeleton in the corner because that's going to help me make more money selling this house. I mean, my jaw hit the floor. So I'm assuming you don't have an inventory. How many skeletons do you have in your warehouse?
All right. Once again, Alan's going back to
We have a
talking to
night.
Barbara about her.
We have a night.
Do you
So
really?
All right.
we have a night. Sometimes you
A
have to
night
have
of the
some
warehouse.
fun. No, it was really one project where we had the night. He was in two projects. Really, the night was in two projects. It was like, it was the perfect space. It was a fun time. There was like a certain trend for a short amount of time. So you have to allow your design team to have a little fun with some purchases now and then.
Did they
And these
name
are the
him?
communication. Oh yeah, he has names.
Sir
He had
Sell a
different
Lot?
names. And then, he had Easter ears, and he had like, the Santa hat on when he was back at the warehouse. So we involved him in,
Is he
some
still
fun
around?
element. No, he's gone.
Oh, I was going to say,
He's
is he for
gone.
rent?
You need it, right? Yeah, that's right. Speaking of
gonna-
which,
I
so
was
you
gonna
have
check.
you do a
I
rental
looked up.
business too, don't you?
Well, we do, we're not doing rental per se. We do high-end executive long-term rent on
Okay.
a case-by-case part. It's not something we highly advertise because it is more a selection, but we have done that if there is like, a ball player or somebody coming
You're not
in
on the
for a
list,
year.
Chris.
I'm not high end.
I don't think so. She's basically saying that she wouldn't do that for you, but
I might be a ball player.
yeah,
Pickleball.
pickleball.
No, I don't even do that. Golf. No,
Golf.
I definitely don't do that. And I know Barbara's a golfer. And well, I did just shoot a 38. I have gone the other way.
What'd you get on the next 3 holes?
Well, how about the next 9? I
Yeah.
got 38 and 9, big boy. Don't ask about the other 9. That's the
They
other.
still have a
You
par
pick and
3?
choose.
I kept most of the clubs. That's even better, which is a win for me when I play. Yeah. All right, going back to the
Back to the
short-term rental.
ivy, right? Back to the ivy. So
Yeah.
again, it comes down really, HTTV has completely changed, perception and expectation setting of buyers today, right? So what it does to houses, if you have some of the older colors, the older, trend, it was 20 years ago, right? That dates the house immediately. Therefore, it's already reduced in value because people today want to have a move-in ready product, right?
Right.
You know that, Alan, kind
Yep.
of like that's what
That's the
that,
90-10
and the
rule.
younger generation don't want to do and work with repairs. So
They
this
don't
is
wanna
like
do
it's a yeah.
anything.
So it's
You didn't want to do anything when you moved in your house?
No, the younger generation. Do
Oh.
better, Chris.
Wow. Look at you. This is where the old curmudgeon of Alan comes out. The younger generation, they're all lazy. They don't do
It was
anything.
way
no,
better
it's
back in
not.
my
Nah,
Back
nah,
in
nah,
my
nah.
day.
Well, other values, right? Other kind of like things they are excellent in, and we might, technology, kind of like how to work certain things. That's where I have the
Oh,
sun,
jump on the
right?
bandwagon, Chris.
That's
You're so holy. You're so sanctimonious.
Because I love
Yes,
these
I
Look
people.
at you.
be
Yeah, you're
positive. Absolutely,
See,
that's
Alan?
just
Be
a ray
positive.
of sunshine,
my
Chris.
glass is always half full, always.
Yours is
I'll
half full
attest to
of
that.
urine.
Ouch. Oh, so much. I'll have to test every time I get together
See,
with
whenever
Barbara.
we get a higher class guest than we are, we really clean it up.
I'll drink to that
Yeah.
actually as soon as I get another beer.
I'll get you one.
All right.
It's covered in bacon grease.
Thank
Thanks to
you. Yeah, well, that was from our great UGA Oregon game, where UGA.
You were gonna look for an opportunity to bring that up.
So this episode, and this episode
Did
of our
you notice
podcast
I'm
is
wearing
brought to you-
black?
I did, because you should be mourning. This episode brought to you by the UGA Football Alumni Club. All dogs, all day, all on top, national champions, and Oregon Ducks suck. Here we go. All right, back to the regular
Thank you
scheduled
very much.
broadcast. Here we go. Back to Barbara, because this is why we're here.
You just cut out one of the 50 states from our listenership.
Well,
Thanks.
Oregon,
Appreciate it.
do better. Actually,
Do
give me
better.
better craft beer, and then I'll bring you back in.
And Oregon has good wines too.
Yeah,
And we do like their
Pinot
wine.
Noirs.
Willamette Valley. I know that one.
Willamette. Say it right.
Willamette, damn it. Sorry.
Jeez.
All right, back to Barbara, because
So
that's why we're here.
Sophisticated.
Are we back?
Yep.
All right. She went and niched down. She goes up luxury market. Have you had to say no to people? Did you have to go back and say, guys, no, that's a no. Can't go that
no
way any longer.
skeleton.
Well, part is, I think, you're not having, you're not saying no. Part is at a certain point, you had more competition and a lot of new businesses start in the lower scale, if that makes sense, because you have to invest in product first before you can utilize it. So you start most probably on a smaller scale, on smaller condos and or flips. And since that market got very competitive, I decided I'm going out of that market to the next level. And then when you're around for a while, you meet more people. So you with your clients, you grow. So as the clients grew and scaled up, our business grew and scaled up.
I want to ask a question. I'm trying to ask it tactfully. I'm not asking you to divulge personal financial information, but
With all due respect, here comes the absolute slander. Go ahead.
no.
I'm trying to ask this tactfully.
Yeah, I mean, it had to take a ton of money to scale up like that and to make that decision. I mean, did you find investors, or is that
No, that business, and from a concept perspective, it grew over time with the projects. But I originally, and that's normally what you shouldn't do, but when I started, I didn't pay myself. I really invested back into the business because I could. I had a cushion when I stopped, and I wanted to grow quickly. And after I hit my goal, then I started, to pay myself.
How long were you in business before you paid yourself?
It was probably 4 years.
Well, that sounds familiar.
I was gonna say,
which
Chris.
blows the shit out of my business plan that I had originally when I left corporate America, going, I got to do this. I'm going to go do this. Don't worry, baby. Don't worry. We're going to do everything because Big Daddy's going to bring it home in 16 months. 4 years later, oh yeah, I finally got a check. But this morning, I'm proud to say that my guys put something up in front of our entire company saying, why do you want to work here? And one of the slides said, because they have never missed a payroll in 14 years, and they actually counted the number of payrolls. And
That is super cool.
it was cool. It was cool because I didn't know it was coming. But
Yeah.
they're right. There are days. I mean, well, there are Fridays where everybody gets paid, but you're running up that scale and doing that. So one of the things you can do, and now I'm going to segue because this is my question, is pricing. How do you set your level for pricing? Because you said I'm a very competitive market, and sometimes I found this with myself is that I was actually negotiating with myself on pricing with clients, because in the home repair and remodeling business, sometimes you find yourself doing that. So in your place as well, there's not a set fee. It's not like, hey, for $100 we'll come out. So in pricing, how hard was it for you to make the move up? Was it people coaching you up there, or was it you deciding to move it up there?
Well, I think every price, and every price is made up, right?
Oh, I agree. I've made up a lot of
If
them
you
really
really
fast.
think about it, and if you have conversation about pricing per se, it is in the absence of value. So
She's so smart.
you
And
have
it sounds
to.
so much better. But she's right. She is so smart, because say that again.
Price is a conversation in the absence of value, because you're starting to have
Ringtone.
conversation about pricing if you don't have enough information which clarify and very clearly tells you this is worth it. I want this because of that. You have to have the answers on that subject. And the key part is
What you're saying
your
is
change you have to think differently here first as the business owner. Then you can start to convey it to your team.
All right. So back to my question. I'm going to ask it like this. Was it you who was saying, I suggest raising prices, or was it other people saying, hey, Barbara, you should start raising your prices?
I got that from coaches. I think also as a business owner, you are too narrow-minded, and you have to invest in yourself and in great coaches to continue to stay on track. I absolutely believe in that. 100% believe in that.
I can't tell you how many times I've argued with myself and lowered my price, only to have a business coach at a time, or a mentor, or one of my mastermind groups say, what are you doing? Raise your prices. You just said you can't find enough guys. you don't have enough trucks on the road, the gas prices went up, and you're only charging this, and you're whining about your margin, raise your prices. I mean, if those people go away, but you're still booking out 6 weeks, I mean, you need to, and I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right. And
it is a really good point. You do have to sell yourself first. And you're so desperate sometimes in your mind, it's like, I don't want to lose this sale, that you'll do whatever it takes. But what the inverse of what you just said is price is irrelevant until you build value.
yeah, so that exactly. But it's hard to because sometimes you're giving a lot of value for a very low price, and you don't realize that. And you need other people, and I think that's the nugget that I wanted to bring out a little bit, is that you need other people sometimes to shed the light on what you probably know is true. You just need somebody to tell you it's okay to step it up and try and see what happens.
Did you start with business coaching?
Not in the beginning, but the lucky part was that I was setting up organizations. That was my business. I was pretty much for corporate. I was setting up new organizations, but I had all the money in the world, if that makes sense, or not all the money in the world, but I had the corporate deep pockets. But I set up the organization, I set up the process, so there was already some knowledge there. But from the financial planning side, that's something I had to dig in deeper and learn more.
So let's talk about how you brought in people to help you as you've grown your business. Let's talk a little bit more about that. Have you used the same business coach over the time? Have you jumped around? So tell us a little bit about how you did it and what your evolution was.
Well, the evolution was that first you're starting to collaborate also in your industry, trying to find the same like-minded people, but not specifically in your location, because there's still an aspect of competition, even though we are working here in Atlanta with a lot of other staging companies and also refer business to each other. But I think it is important that you have a great network of other people around you. At a later point, I think it is important to get outside of your industry, because that also gives you some new understanding and new ideas. So I think it is a combination, and it might go forward, backward now and then. I also feel it is important to change. As you're growing, you might look for other people. And I think one big thing stayed with me. Most likely, the door opener to your success is the person you do not know now. So you have to get out of your comfort zone, and you have to get out of spaces. So I have made a name in my industry, but now I'm at a point that I want to be the smallest fish in a room again, and I want to be together with other people from which I can grow and learn, so that I am constantly challenged.
Where do you start there? Okay, number one, she's more mature than I am.
Way
I want to
more
be
mature.
I want to
be the biggest fish ever.
Hell yeah, baby! I want to be the big fish. I want to be the big dog. I want to take them all down.
Screw all the other fish.
But what Barbara's saying is, if you want to grow, you got to get yourself out of your comfort zone, which means Alan and I will be doing the TikTok after this one for Alan to help him with his comfort zone. That's right, big dog. So I'm already thinking my next one. So today you're working, you're in another coaching group, helping in stuff. What has it helped you now? Because you've niched down your business. You're here, that you've grown the top 5 home staging company in the
universe.
You know what?
Yeah.
Galaxy.
I think it's galaxy wide.
Yeah.
Let's go big. Let's go big.
Well, funny, I have to interrupt for a second, because my son is studying astrobiology,
So
and
you can confirm
space, space travel, everything with space. And so one day he came home and said, "Mom, maybe you should design first town somewhere on Mars or whatever else." I said, most probably not me, but thank you for even, putting it out there.
She can handle the logistics of it.
I like that. Actually, she probably could get all that furniture up to the Mars. We are probably coming on 10. We got 10 left. Yeah. Yeah, start at 4:15. Alan made me pause, and I was such on a roll. Universe, back to it. Okay.
I'm sorry.
So the coaching. So we're coming to the end of the podcast. You've grown your business, but one of the other things that I want to make sure the listeners all hear about is how you're starting to diversify your revenue streams and doing some of the other stuff you're doing. So without losing focus on your primary business, home staging, what else are you doing to diversify revenue streams?
Well, I'm actually starting to go back to some of the basics in investing in real estate. So this year, just today, actually, we closed on our second short-term rental, which we are running out the first one. And we have a very specific concept around dogs. So we are like very dog friendly. So our first one is already booked out. I think there's only a couple of days left until the end of the year. And we just purchased the second one. We're looking for more acreage because we consider that we can maybe add a second property on larger acreage. So there's another strategy on that part. And we really feel that our niche with the dog-friendly approach is a good one. Then we furnish short-term rentals, and we're looking at a little bit arbitrage business there as well. But my key focus there is to align with apartments and apartment builders. This year also I started investing in apartments. So that is, the next part of the level, and, going into groups where you have a direct in with the HOA is important, specifically in the Atlanta market, I feel.
Well done. So totally separate up from design to sell. This is a different revenue stream, different idea. Love how you're doing all that, because I think,
but they all interconnect, because there's the staging company and design company who can also furnish and has the product. And then we also work on some concepts where we can rent some short-term rental packages, because that's a big investment to get started. So only on the furnishing side, and it's also not as easy to set it up, and not everybody has the taste level and the understanding to make it look nice. So we could pull a furniture rental package together, which gives then the investor a head start, because they pretty much, and they can turn quickly if no renovation needs to be done, which, in a month, as most probably gives them, if you think that a short-term rental, if it is managed and done well, with a high occupancy rate, which we try to keep at around, 80 is, I think, industry level, but we'll push it up to more, 85, 90 if we can. And if you can immediately implement it, that's good. It's normally a multiplier by 3.5 to 4 compared to a traditional rental, if that makes sense. So if you get a head start there, this is a big advantage for an investor. And we can do different part, either arbitrage, where we kind of like sublet and manage it, or we are only renting it out. Not the plates and the cups. That's a purchase element, but and often investors might want to do that by themselves, and that's something they can do if they want. But the furniture part is different.
I think I'm going to move in my garage and let her furnish my house and rent it.
You know what? I think you got a good idea there. So let's wrap that up. We're starting to come to the end of the episode, so I want to make sure everybody stays tight with us. What you just heard is multiple revenue streams, but leveraging her core concept and core competencies, right? And that's what I took away from that, is that I have the ability to leverage what I've got and built already, but also bring in different revenue streams that may actually counteract each other in different economies and different
Create
things.
your own mutual fund.
You've done your own mutual fund. Thank you, Alan.
It's
Always
my job
adding
is to
value.
Sum it up.
All right, Barbara, we're gonna wrap up here in a minute, but I can't let you go without asking our famous 3 questions.
She looks like she's dreading me.
And she just dropped her head and said, "Oh my God, he's not really going to do it."
Take a
I'm gonna
big
have
pull
to.
off of that beer, Barbara.
I need that
All right,
first.
here we go. And while she drinks her beer, we're going to set up these questions, because I'm having so much fun with the questions. I actually just got hit up again on that over the weekend that says, "I love the questions. Why don't you start with those?" I said, "Because I want you to listen to the whole thing." And he said, "Well, that's what fast forwards." I'm like, dude, I do this for funsies, right? Come on, man. All right, so back to it. What is the favorite feature of your home?
Favorite feature of the home? Well, it's a unique element, but I love, I have a love for living rooms, if that makes sense. So I really enjoy the creation of living room spaces.
So you like sitting in your own living room?
I like that too. Yes.
Okay. All right. So that's the favorite feature of your own home.
Of my own home.
Yep. All right. All right. when you go out and you are getting serviced in customer service, one of the things we talk about because we're customer service freaks is, what is a customer service pet peeve of yours?
Education. I think that's my main part. I think I want that the client understands why we're doing certain things and that they understand the full process. So if that makes sense, I feel, because that helps to smooth everything which comes after. If they completely understand how we're working, and often I think that's a part which is shortcutted, and then there is a clash of expectations.
I agree. Educated customers make better customers. You need to do a better job educating. Marcus Sheridan says it the best. They ask, you answer. The more educated they are, the more informed they are, the better customer they are. I just had an example of that where I walked in and this customer had it all laid out, everything. They had looked at my website. They knew what they wanted to do. Boom. I just sold our second biggest project this year when I walked in there because they were informed already. Love that they're already educated. All right, number 3. Here we go. Give us a DIY nightmare story working on a house.
I think I remember, there's always a lot. So, you go back, okay, which one is really the major nightmare? I think if people invest and really start and trying to do their best to stage by themselves, but they don't have the right product to utilize it. You might have a bed left, you might have a table left, you might have a couple of chairs, and you're trying to, what you still can do is, showcase how, product can be placed, but it's not creating the lifestyle. And therefore it's controversy to what you're really trying to accomplish. And it is very hard if you're coming into a space and somebody says, here and I have done that by myself, to number one, first, I'm the German girl, always has to speak the truth. And so, but to do it nicely and really appreciate the hard work and the thought concept being, put into it, but also explaining what it really does.
So my Uncle Rick went to his NASCAR freak, just loves NASCAR. And if you don't know anything about NASCAR, they're big tires, they're big cars, and they drive around. But when the tires are done, they can't do anything with them anymore. So they would sell the tires. Uncle Rick buys a tire, brings it home, gets a piece of glass made and makes it his centerpiece in his living room where he sits. And he said, hey, Chris, what do you think of that? Because I know you love NASCAR too. I said, Uncle Rick, I think that's a unique choice.
I need a photo of that.
You do. He actually, it lasted, I think, at least 3 or 4 months, and it's gone. It's gone. It's gone like the tire's gone. All right.
Maybe Barbara could use it in her stage.
You know what?
Yeah, but one part, I think,
So I'll sell it.
Yeah. Well, the right place, there's always the right place. There's always the right place for something. But, how often can you reuse it? But I think the main part is really thinking about what dates your space. I think a DIY tip for everybody is, what dates the space. And, I think that's a key part, because that is really emotion. And we are, everything starts with the emotion. And also that, every room gets a price tag. And where we see it strongly is when houses were sitting on the market for a long time. And then you do the paint refresh and you bring in the right furnishing, and it's a day and night. It is
what date's your house, Alan?
Night.
You need to get rid of your Farrah Fawcett poster.
I do it. I was just it was like, so my Spencer Blacklight
that's right.
poster that I have lit up with Led Zeppelin on it, it's got to go. Damn it. I knew it. Barbara, this has been so much fun. We hope you've had fun, because I know you've dropped a lot of gold nuggets for our audience. The Small Business Safari is off and running. Barbara, how can people get a hold of you? And why don't you go ahead and take a few minutes to tell us about what you can do and how we can get in contact with you?
Absolutely would love that. So best is to look, number one, at our website, www.homedesign2cell.com, or give us a call. That's also on the website. And, now I am, I feel so bad because right now I have my phone number. I don't have our phone number in my head. So kind of like, sorry, can't do that right now.
We'll put it in the show links.
Yes,
but
please.
We got you.
Well, parties, think about when you're putting on your market, you have the 6-second rule too, right? It's only one time you can make a first impression. And that makes a huge impact. What happens if a house is not selling over time at a certain point? The value goes down at a certain point, there's a price drop. One of the biggest saying is your investment in staging is always less than your first price reduction.
And on that note, we say, keep going up that mountaintop of success. Make it happen. Keep driving each and every day. Make it up there. And it's not as smooth as you think. Sometimes that cheese grater takes your face right off, but you will get back up and make it happen. Make it smooth. Until next time,
Hasselhoff.
cheers.
Cheers.
I thought it was a different word, Alan. Oh my God, you just killed the ending. Oh my God.